Hello YouTube, and welcome back to Retired for Life. Well, it's been a couple of weeks since I made a video. Things have been pretty busy. You saw how active things were with the haying and that kind of thing, but the haying is done. So it has been time to move on to a couple of other things. So you might recall that this is the area where I took that big pine tree down that was interfering with my starling dish, and also a bit of a threat to the house too. It was a monster. So it's gone, and I've just been finishing cleaning up this area. So I run it all through the chipper, anything that can't be used anyway, and the rest of it was turned into boards. So let's go have a quick look at where things are with the sawmill site. Okay, we're back up to the sawmill camp. Now, things got blown around here pretty good by the wind. I've obviously got to do a little something about that. So you can see I've got this old frame from one of these temporary garages up here, and I've got the remains of the cover back over top of it. But this, I didn't know had happened. Look how far this has got blown out of position here by the storm that we had. So fortunately everything's held together because of these boards that I've got it all bolted to, but obviously I've now got to start weighting these boards down. And the boards you see going across the bottom are just my slats for stacking my wood on as it comes out of the sawmill. So we'll get this back into position and get that fixed up and start weighting these boards down. The next thing for today is to actually fasten my wooden rails down to these blocks. So this is my sawmill bunk, so the bed will get attached to this. So I've got the brackets for it, so we're going to get to work on that very shortly. We had a very good year with the garden this year. It's pretty much finished now. We've still got a few more tomatoes that I can pick, and some beans, and we've got a little bit of lettuce still in here that looks pretty good. And there's my one teeny little melon sitting over there, which I'm looking forward to giving a try. Hopefully it will ripen up without getting eaten. And then the next thing will be to figure out reorganizing this for better turnout next year. Because as I've mentioned before, this one was a learning experience. I've got to reposition some of my permanent plants, like the asparagus. And I had this wild asparagus show up, just start growing here, which was pretty weird. So I'm going to transfer all the asparagus plants I've got into a single row. And then of course I've got to bring in a whole bunch of compost and dig it in, because the soil is still not the richest up here. So I'm going to visit Art to get some compost later on before it gets too close to November anyway. So let's get this canopy back into position here, and we'll start piling some rocks on it to give it some weight. Well, that was exhausting, but all these rocks, more like boulders, should make things much more wind resistant here, I think. It's going to take a much more severe wind to move it around now, and that's the idea. So let's get down to fastening these rails in place. Well, there we go. The bunk is ready. All I need is the sawmill. So everything is nice and level and straight. The sawmill bed, of course, all has a bunch of adjusting legs on it to make it absolutely perfect. So that's good, but I'm quite pleased with the rigidity of this now. It is really, really solid. So that should do well. So my thought here for this conveyor table is I'm gonna build it out of the top out of some 2x6s and spread them far enough apart and notch them to put these pipes down in every 8 inches or so. I want to be able to drop my boards on top of here, stand them up, brush them off, get the sawdust off of them and all that kind of thing. And this thing isn't going to need to hold a huge amount of weight, just basically 1 log's worth of lumber. So this is plan A, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so there's the top basically done. I just have 1 pipe sitting in there right now. I have to still have to drill the holes and fasten them down, but I think I'm going to do the legs for this thing first and then put the pipes on last. So we'll head back up to the sawmill camp and see if I can't figure out just how high I want this thing to be. So next I have to figure out how to mount these legs. So what I think I'm going to do is take about 3 inches and notch this down maybe 3/4 of an inch deep kind of thing, and then that will be the area that will screw up against the top of this thing. And I think I'll cut a piece of pressure treated 2x6 to put on the bottom here as well, just to help prevent the wood from rotting away too quickly. So let's get these notched out and see how that looks.
Well, that works pretty nicely. Yeah, I'll do all 4 legs like that and we'll move on. Okay, so I've got things sitting here basically upside down. So you can see I've got 2 of the legs just kind of clamped in rough position. So you can see here why I notched these out, because the tabletop will now be putting all its weight onto this leg and not just screws that go into the side. So this really makes it a lot stronger. So I'm going to figure out the location of these legs, screw them into place, and then I'm going to use some 2x4s to put a frame all the way around the outside of the legs, well, fairly close to the bottom, just to make it nice and rigid. Well, there we are. Looking at it here, I'm actually worried that I've got it too high. But we'll see how it works. It won't be too hard to take it down if it is too high. The idea is to keep the bending to a minimum kind of thing. So as the lumber comes off of the sawmill, it will go straight onto here where I can kind of organize it into final sizes and that type of thing. And any that need to go back onto the sawmill for finished trimming will just get stacked up here as well. So hopefully a lot less bending and twisting and that type of thing with this table. So next thing to do is take it up and put it into place and give it a real good oil soaking. So let's get this up there. Well, there's the sorting table. It's all complete. I've given it a good coating of oil, and I've got the tubes down on the top of it now. But I've dragged it into the drying tent here because we did have a pretty good burst of showers for a little bit there. But it looks like it's starting to clear up again. But anyway, tomorrow morning, we are off to pick up the Woodland Mills sawmill. So that is going to be it for today's video. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you out on the trails the next time.